Scott sits down and then we'll start.
All right.
Okay. Thank you. How we
Okay.
doing?
We're doing good.
Good.
All right, we all ready? Good evening. This is a City Commission workshop. It is January 13th, 2015, and it is 6:32 p.m. Please stand for the invocation by Commissioner Gloria James, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Shall we bow our heads, please? Lord, we thank you for waking us this morning in our right minds. We thank you for allowing us to go through our travels for another day. We thank you for allowing us to assemble here in this auditorium this afternoon in order to take care of the business of the city of High Springs. We ask that we be allowed to sit and discuss the issue at hand today. We are allowed to disagree, but we do not want to be disagreeable. We just ask that we be able to work together. These things we ask in Jesus' name tonight. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner James.
Sure.
Ms. Parham, roll call, please.
Commissioner Evans?
Here.
Commissioner James?
Here.
Commissioner Williams?
Present.
Mayor Weller?
Here.
Vice Mayor Jameson?
Here.
Thank you. Okay, this is a workshop to discuss the current alcohol ordinance. There will be no action taken tonight. Any actions that might come out of this would be at a future commission meeting to be determined. So I am going to go ahead and open this up for the commission to start discussing. If anyone from the audience wants to speak on the issue, they can come up and speak, but they'll have 3 minutes and they can only speak once according to our rules. Our current ordinance right now does not allow for the serving of alcohol on Sundays. It does allow for what is referred to as malt beverages, which is basically beer and wine on Sunday. And basically, we are here to talk about that particular issue as to whether the commission would desire to change that aspect of the ordinance to allow alcohol to be served on Sunday. So I'll open it up for discussion. And let's not be shy.
Are there any commissioners that want to change what we have? I guess, because if there's 3 of us that don't want to change things, there's no point in discussing things for 2 hours just to have no action at the very end of it.
Well, we can certainly ask if any commissioner believes that they don't want it changed, or if they do want it changed. Part of a workshop is to listen to why someone would not want it changed or why someone would want it changed, to see if there can't be some kind of agreement come among the commissioners. But I have no problem as far as asking any of the commissioners if they would indeed be against changing the alcohol ordinance as it stands.
Madam Mayor, I think the purpose of tonight is to, as you stated, get a general discussion and feel for what it is that the commission this collegial body wants to do. It's been a hot button issue in many small cities. It was a hot button issue over a lot of years in Newberry. And Newberry recently amended their ordinance. They had a little bit of a quirk for a long time. They allowed beer and wine sales on Sundays, whereas the county did not. And so there became kind of a big business of folks going to the Swanee River and coming through Newberry. So there was a group of 7-Eleven type businesses and I think maybe Hitchcock's Grocery as well that really did not want to change that part of it because there was a big part of the business that was going on associated with beer sales, particularly for folks on Sundays. So that was out there, and it had been a very hot button political issue for a lot of years. And for some reason, when the commissioners tinkered with it and they expanded the hours of sales, and your managers put together a nice little chart for you all, and it says Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. all liquor, Sunday sale and beer and wine only after noon for your sister city. So and that went through remarkably without any controversy at all. I was shocked by it, given past history.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Newberry is not High Springs, and High Springs is not Newberry, so I don't know where this will go as far as this, and this is one of the first steps in the process. The other thing that I'd point out is, my general advice to you from the law standpoint is try to keep it as simple as you can and try to make it just as straightforward as you possibly can. And in doing that, I know your managers put together ordinances for these various cities, your sister cities, and Courtney's been good enough to put that together for our purposes as well. And if you look at the City of Alachua ordinance, just in looking at it, it's just real straightforward. It's real simple. They adopt the state statute as far as definitions is concerned. That's the first part of their ordinance. It's their Chapter 4 on alcoholic beverages. Municipal Home Rule Powers Act of Chapter 166. And the definitions contained in the beverage law of the state of Florida are the same definitions and terms used in this chapter. Powers for sale. And it's just real straightforward between the hours of 7 a.m. to 2 a.m., Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. on the following day. And then, let's see, if they reference Sunday, I think there's no hours of off-premises consumption of alcohol and beverage shall only be permitted on Sundays between the hours of midnight at 2 a.m. and 7 a.m. and 11 p.m. So they allow off-premises consumption of alcohol. And then they have the businesses and clubs provision as well. Shall be unlawful for any person to sell or consume or permit the consumption of any alcoholic beverage on license of business or club open to the public, which is licensed under the state and caters to or allows on the premises consumption of alcoholic beverages between the hours of 2 a.m. and 7 a.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and between the hours of 11 p.m. on Sunday and 7 a.m. on the following Monday. However, and then they do their December 31st. But in reviewing all these, the point of what I was just saying is it's straightforward, it's real simple, and whether that's what you all want to do or not is certainly up to this body. But my advice is to you, whatever it is that you do, try to make it as simple as you can.
But I agree with that, and I know that that the manager, I think, or maybe it was Courtney that put together these different options, and I'll just go over them really quickly. Now, option one was to make no change. Option 2 is that there would be no restrictions, and the time would be from 7 a.m. to midnight. And the 51% gross revenue would be eliminated. Option 3 is no restrictions on Sunday, but you leave the times of 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. In other words, you could sell alcohol on Sunday, but it would be limited to the time frame. Option 4 would be, again, you could sell alcohol on Sunday, but it would only be limited to the downtown core area, basically a 4-block area from 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. Option 5 was alcohol on Sunday, but limited to the CRA area, 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. And then option 6, you could sell alcohol on Sunday, 7 a.m. to 2 a.m., and the 51% of gross revenue would be eliminated. When it comes to restricting or just allowing alcohol sales downtown, I think I think that is not a route that we should take. I think it should be citywide if we're going to do it. I don't see any difference between the downtown area and the rest of the city. You have the 441 corridor, where you would conceivably down the road will have restaurants coming in down there. Over there, just like we have the Great Outdoors or 60 North. So my thinking is that, yes, you would allow alcohol on Sunday, and it would be citywide. Commissioner Evans, you had something to say.
I was just going to say, I would not vote any way, shape, or possible if there was any type of radius or blocks or whatever that could do something where the rest of the city couldn't. If you're in a commercial business zone
Correct,
where
yeah.
it's legal to do business, it should be the same city-wide regardless of, because if you do it that way, you're basically propping up a couple of businesses and kind of making an unfair business environment. You're basically saying we don't want any type of restaurants or any place that would serve alcohol on 441, which to me is just asinine when there's plenty of property there.
Mm-hmm. Any other commissioners? Commissioner Jameson?
Question, please. And just break it down close on this one here. Option 3. And I just want to clear it. When I read option 3, all the only difference on that, the hours stay the same. There's nothing changed. You're just allowing the sale of, and I'm going to say liquor because to be honest with you, to me, beer is alcohol. So I mean, I want to make sure I don't get confused. Number 3, all you're doing, this one would be allowing liquor sales. Everything else would stay the same. The hours of operation got to be 51%. It's got to be a restaurant. Am I correct on that?
Yes, this would not be bars. This would be
Strictly a
restaurants.
restaurant.
And since restaurants currently can sell beer and wine between the hours of 1 p.m. and 11 p.m. on Sunday, you would now allow liquor sales
Right, so
within
that's-
that same time frame in restaurants.
Okay, I'm just trying to make sure so when we discuss it, I know what the heck I'm talking about. Okay.
Yes, and I will say there's 6 options on here. There's probably a million other
Sure.
combinations. This was just to give you an idea of combinations you could do.
Okay.
Not yet. Any other commissioners?
Well,
Commissioner
as
Byron?
he said, several years ago, this was a hot topic issue. Myself, I don't think nobody was on this dais was at that during that time, and it created a lot of division within this city. I mean, a lot of division within this city. And I thought we did a pretty good job of compromising where everyone was satisfied. I ain't gonna say happy, but pretty much everybody was satisfied the way we did this. I think it was done in a very unique way. And when we left that meeting at the Civic Center that night, everybody left okay with this. So my question tonight is, why change it or why fix something that isn't broken? Why? Why? That's I heard I think Commissioner Barnes brought this up. No one else complained in town that I know of. So my question again is, why? Because I thought we had came with a very good compromise for everyone that will work for High Springs.
I've heard a couple of complaints in that people have come into the restaurants that we have, and when they found that they could not have alcohol on a Sunday, they turned around and walked out. I experienced that. I watched someone come in to one of our restaurants, and it was noon. They were coming in, and they were advised they wanted to come in and have, I think it was a brunch, and they wanted a mimosa or whatever it was, and then they turned around and left because we did not serve that. I also think that it is something, if you're going to be looking at the fact of down the road of any chain restaurants, Applebee's, Chili's, whatever it is, that tend to have a bar just like they have in 60 North and Great Outdoors, that they're not going to come to town if they can't sell alcohol on Sunday.
Now, okay. With that being said, so have we researched that and found out if that was so, Appleby wouldn't come here?
I would say that I have been told that. I have been on an economic area. Yes, I've been told that they won't come here, because of that. Now, and again, I would have to say that the two things. One, as far as I'm concerned, I see no difference between beer and wine and alcohol. They all have alcohol. They're all alcohol. The other thing is that we did have a different ordinance. And in fact, when I first moved here, it was changed to have beer and wine on Sunday. We then later had an ordinance where we said, okay, as far as when we got into that distance thing, and then we put in language in the ordinance that talked about if you were going to have a restaurant, in order to address the concerns about bars. And I have a problem with having just, where a bar can just show up. But we put in language in that ordinance that said you had to have so many seats, you had to have particular dinnerware, you had to have printed types of menus with different selections to make sure that what we were getting, if a restaurant came in, then in fact it was a restaurant and not a standalone bar. And I don't want to see standalone bars, but I think restaurants are something that you're going to want to see come into this city along 441, and I think alcohol plays a big part in it.
Yeah. Until I see some data saying all that, until that time come, if it ain't fixed, it ain't broken, why we want to try to fix it now? That's, it's again, how many people will come and say, okay, you don't sell liquor, so I'm leaving your restaurant now? How many would come and do that? I just think, see the doubt. I just can't.
Well, if you're saying, don't if it's not broke, don't fix it. You don't hear anyone say anything about it. Your restaurants are asking for it.
Well, Mr. The man from 60 Main came and when Bob bought it up.
Right, and I know that the Great Outdoors would want it too.
Yeah.
Would like to have it too. They're requesting it. So if you're saying wait until Applebee's or one of those come in and say they want it before we make a decision.
Well, no, I'm not saying that, because if they come, I'm still gonna say no to it.
Okay.
I think it's working. It's going to help the city citywide economically to serve, as you call, hard liquor, what you want to call it. I just don't see why for right now. I just don't see it, because again, I said we hammered this issue. Friendships was lost. It was a hot button issue, but we sat down, we agreed on it, and then just we came up with. Me and Larry was the best of friends, but this one we didn't agree on. But we still left there happy that night. Sure. Everybody left there happy that night. Bill Kaufman, who else was sitting on that end? Jim Gabriel, and Diane Shue. We compromised. We sit down and we hashed out the issue. We had a civic center full of folks down there. And when we left that thing there, I just thought this was a done issue for now. Everybody left there content. I ain't gonna say content, but we worked together. We got it done. Mm-hmm. And since then, it just haven't been this issue, because it's an issue that keep this city divided, and I don't like when we divide this city. And I'm gonna say this. And we'll just work together and just keep peace in this city. That's all I'm looking for. It's just peace, and it's
serving rum or gin on one day for how many hours from 1 to what?
11.
1 to 11.
11. 10 hours.
That just, you just can't see it. You got 6 other days out of the week to do so. And I know some of y'all gonna say trying to relate it to church. Yes, if that's so, for those that don't want it, they have the right to voice their opinion too, and those that do, they have the right to voice their opinion. But I thought again, we made a good compromise where we can move forward in this city.
Commissioner Evans?
My personal view, I think, would tend to be along yours, Madam Mayor. I mean, I do not see a difference. You have beer and wine, and then you have liquor and mixed drinks. They're all alcohol. There are people that can overindulge and do stupid things on them, but you can do it just as easy on beer and wine as you can liquor. And there's people that enjoy those responsibly. We have businesses in town that are stating that it does hurt their sales, and not just on their liquor and bar side of things. If you have somebody that wants to come in and have a meal, they want a particular drink, you can't serve them that drink. It's not just losing that drink, it's also losing the steak and everything else that goes along with that. Mm-hmm. I just think if we have an ordinance that is allowing some alcohol being sold, I don't see what the difference between having beer and wine and having a mixed drink is. To me, it just doesn't seem like an issue. You still have that break till after church services. You're just allowing it to be, basically you're allowing the restaurants to have the same menu they have every other day of the week. And to me, it just makes more sense doing it that way.
Commissioner Williams?
If I'm not mistaken, the guy from 6th Domain, I'm not going to try to quote him, but he said that his sale of what, the rum, whatever, that's a very small percentage of his business. That's what he said. The man from 6th Domain said that. That's a very small percentage of his business.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but it's still, I think, any restaurant is going to do what they can to have available what people want to make up whatever they need to make up for their business. Whether it's a small percentage, it still adds on to them. Commissioner Evans?
And just to clarify that, I asked him about that specific comment,
Mm-hmm.
and what he meant was the liquor is a small percentage, but it's the things that go along with it,
Mm-hmm.
like the food that they purchase with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because most people, when they go to those restaurants, they're not going there just to drink all day long. They're going there to have a meal.
Right.
It's the meals that they're losing because the patrons can't get the drink they want to accompany the meal. And that's what the point I was trying to get across and what he said to me.
Any other commissioner? Public? Come forward, please.
Billy Dowdy, 230 Northeast 7th Avenue, High Springs, Florida. There are 3 things I would like to make note of. There's a tremendous amount of health data and research available at the University of Florida and some of their studies on alcohol to carefully define for you the tremendous difference in beer, wine, and hard alcohol. I think even our law enforcement could give us some rather shocking statistics as to what causes death on highways being delineated between those 3 forms of alcohol. Yes, they're all alcohol, but the percentage of them, as I understand, is vastly different, and the consequences is vastly different. Brother Williams, when you mentioned who would leave a restaurant just because they couldn't buy alcohol, people who are addicted and cannot eat a meal without alcohol would do that. And it is those same people that I'm concerned about, because their addictions then will be more readily available in our community, more easily accessible in our community, and we're more likely. You see, in ministry work like Brother Williams and Miss James and I are in, we see the other side of drinking. See, I counsel with abused spouses, abandoned children, lost businesses, lost homes, because it became an addiction, because it was readily, easily available. Any law enforcement officer would really tell you very immediately they would rather work in High Springs than any other city because our crime rate is so low, because we have very little alcohol. It doesn't take much observation to look at data to find out that more crime is committed and more accidents committed and more people's lives hindered and ruined by alcohol when the alcohol is more easily accessible. I have a huge question about who governs and who investigates, and how is the figure evaluated, and for how long is the figure evaluated of 51% of gross revenue from non-alcoholic sales. That's a really difficult thing to assess. We can't even get records that are public records easily. So how are we going to get from private businesses records like that? It raises a serious question. And the very first time that we have some child just passing by Cheers Liquor or a restaurant, and they're run over by someone impaired, we all will regret if we do make any changes to this. And Brian, you were right. It was a great compromise.
Thank you.
Sylvia Newcomb. Apologize for my address. I've been at North Florida Regional for the last 2 days with some elderly folks that were ill. I remember that meeting very well. As I recall, Mr. Travis got very upset with me and made the comment, "Are you going to allow one woman to dictate what the city does?" Well, it wasn't one woman. There was a whole room full of people there. Did I go out and talk to people about what I thought was right? You bet I did. I grew up in this city. Since 1959, I've been here. The problem that we had with the downtown area, I think that you will recall, is that we have a unique situation because many, many people, their residences back up to the restaurants and the corridors down here and the music and the bars and stuff. When you allow the sale of alcohol to go on from 1 until 11 o'clock, people are going to work the next Monday morning. And one of the complaints that Diane Shoup and her husband had, which really made them move out of the town, was because the restaurants, they could not control the music and the loudness of the music. They moved because they just couldn't handle it anymore. They had ask and ask and ask, and it just got louder and louder. Mr. Evans, you're a commissioner for everybody, not just the restaurants. So that means that you've got to take into account the citizens, everybody in this town. And I am with Mr. Williams that I doubt seriously if there's very many people that leave because they can't get a certain drink with their meal. Thank you.
Anybody else? Oh, sorry. I'll get you in a minute.
I'm Sylvia Lohr, 315 Northwest 6th Street here in High Springs. I have a question because I'm kind of new at coming to the commission meetings and workshops and things like that. So I'm wondering, have we had a formal request for this ordinance to be changed? Why are we here, if not? I mean, do we just pick and pluck ordinances that we choose to reword and just have a workshop and change things? That's disturbing to me, and I'd like an answer for that if you have to make a formal complaint about an ordinance, because I may have a couple of them myself that I would like to have changed. As far as the liquor sales on Sunday, I don't agree with it. I've lived here all my life. I only live about 7 blocks from the great outdoors. And on Saturday and Sunday nights, even with the cold weather or hot weather, with my air conditioner or heater running and my television on, I can still hear the music. So maybe we need to be talking about a noise ordinance instead of an alcohol ordinance that we don't need to change right now. And if Applebee's, that's the only reason they wouldn't come to High Springs, that's okay with me, because I'm not sure that I, as a lifelong citizen of this city, want Applebee's 3 blocks from my house on 441. Thank you.
Okay. I will, as far as a formal request, certainly any citizen can request to appear before the commission and to be on the agenda to make a request. You can also come up during citizen comments and ask, make a comment on an item or that's not on the agenda, or you can speak to an item on the agenda. The time limits are a little bit different. As far as a formal request, we had a restaurant inquire and ask of a commissioner to bring this issue up, and the commissioner did bring this issue up, and this is a follow-up to that. So, sure. Come on up here, please.
Okay, so if they...
Well, wait till you get up to the mic, please.
So if they ask this of an individual, of these 5 individuals,
Mm-hmm.
Then you bring it to the other commissioners.
At a commission
meeting. And that's
meeting.
what makes a workshop,
Well,
so to
depends.
speak.
It can either be put on the agenda as a formal action, for formal action to be taken, which it actually was on the agenda, but at that time it was decided to have a workshop on it.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's why we're wanting to change things. Now, whose pocket are we padding? Are we really benefiting the city by doing this, changing this ordinance? Would we benefit the city? I mean, if 3 people came in next Sunday and wanted a mixed drink with their lunch and they left and they lost the price of 3 meals, do they not make that up the other 5 days of the week that they're open?
I don't know.
I'm just saying,
It's not just that. I think part of it is all looking at the city's looking at economic development and what attracts businesses and restaurants.
Development is my question. Whose pocket is that money going into? The owners of the restaurant.
Well,
and it's not benefiting the city.
If it brings new business, then you're looking at tax dollars being brought in. This is not just necessarily just because if we have 2 restaurants downtown. You're also looking at the benefit that it would bring because you have other businesses, other restaurants coming in to town.
If we could line 441 with businesses.
Correct.
How funny.
Anybody else? Okay. Commissioners, anybody else comments?
Yeah, I do. I guess I'm just a little bit disappointed because I really expected to see more citizens here tonight on this particular issue. So it's a little bit disappointing to me. But I also have a question. Since we're saying because we do not have the hard alcohol on Sundays that possibly we're going to lose business, have anybody tried to determine whether these other cities here that not doing alcohol on Sunday losing business at all? I think that's an issue. I also think that I don't understand why Sunday cannot be a clean day, a free day. We built this whole world in 6 days. Why do we have to have alcohol on Sunday? I think we need one clean day to rest and clean up to restart the week all over again. And that's my opinion.
Okay,
Mayor.
yes, Commissioner Williams.
Let's be realistic here. How many more restaurants we think we're gonna get here in High Springs?
No.
Who knows?
Who knows?
One, maybe, two more. You know, we're not that large. I can't see too much room for 2 or 3 more restaurants. And to be honest with you, and then we're saying that economically, it's gonna hurt these restaurants. The restaurants close every day. If you don't believe it, right up and down Archer Road. Restaurants are hard business at this time.
Sure it is.
It's a hard business at this time. And I, personally, I just don't believe because you're going to sell rum or gin is going to make this, bring economic development into this town. I can't see it until I see some raw data stating that. So I just cannot see it. I can't see it. I think Alachua, I ain't got my glasses with me.
That's one of them. That's why I asked the question.
Alachua would do it. And Alachua, I don't see no big booming restaurants coming over there. They're closing faster than they're opening over there. So I just can't see it, how it's going to benefit the city of High Springs economically. I can't see it. I just cannot see it. Well, one day, but how many hours y'all said? 10 hours?
10 hours, from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m.
I can't see it. I really can't see it. I really can't. You know, again, I say this. I thought we hammered this thing out. I think we came up with a sensible compromise. Everybody was happy. We left there happy that night. Everybody spoke to one another. And I just really thought it was a done deal. I really did. I really, really, truly did.
Commissioner Evans?
Yeah, just a couple points. I know I keep referring to a couple of us keep referring to the 2 restaurants we already have here in town because they are established businesses. The idea that I have behind allowing the sale of liquor on Sunday would be just to, like you said, a restaurant business nowadays is a hard business, basically to level the playing field. There are people that have alcohol problems. It's very sad. There's some people it destroys their lives. But just because the city of High Springs has an ordinance that says you can only buy beer and wine on Sunday does not mean that we're helping anybody's life. If you've got a problem with alcohol, you're going to drive across the bridge 2 miles into Columbia County and get what you want. The only reason that I would be in favor of doing this is just to help support the 2 businesses we already have. And if it happens that doing this in the future allows us to get some type of chain restaurant, all the better. And then as far as the noise problem, if there is a noise problem from the great outdoors, that's more of a noise ordinance issue. It's going to be a problem regardless of what they sell. That would need to be addressed at a different time because it is a noise problem, not an alcohol problem. And that, I mean, to me, that's just the main reason to do it is just to level the playing field so people that live around here are not driving into Gainesville to get the meal that they want, or vice versa. People that live in Gainesville are not coming to High Springs, they're staying in Gainesville because they can get what they want over there. And who knows, when they come over here, they might stop at another store, one of the antique stores or one of the other stores that are downtown and help them out too. And that's just the way I feel.
Well,
Thank you. Commissioner Williams?
Most antique stores are not open on Sundays. So it's not going to bring no more businesses downtown to help anyone else. I just can't see it. I just can't see it. And I just don't believe because you serve rum or gin, that's going to bring more business into a restaurant. And I'm not trying to be funny. I just cannot see it. I really can't. For those 10 hours on a Sunday afternoon. How? I just can't see it. Until they can show me some raw data saying what they're making off this and doing this on Sunday, Monday through whatever, I can't see it. I really can't see it. I really don't believe it's going to help those businesses at all. It definitely ain't going to help the city of High Springs at all. It's definitely not going to help downtown at all. I just cannot see it. And if somebody that don't want to come here because they can't get a drink of liquor, go to Gainesville, go to Lake City, because I don't believe that $3 or $5 or $15, whatever they're gonna spend, gonna benefit the city of High Springs, Florida. Now the citizens of High Springs, Florida. I can't see it. And that's who I'm serving. I am serving the citizens of High Springs as a whole. For those drink and don't drink, I'm serving everybody. Everybody. And again, I'm gonna say this again. I hate to keep saying hammering this home, but that's what I've been told. We made a good compromise with this. I thought everybody left there satisfied when we left that table that night. Why change it now? Why?
Well, I want to just respond in that I think every commissioner up here is looking at the whole of the city.
I'm not saying that. I was speaking about me.
Okay.
I wasn't speaking about the other commissioners. No, that's not what I was saying.
Well, then I'm going to say that I feel that I'm trying to look at not just those two restaurants, but I'm trying to look at the future of High Springs and what we're as far as trying to attract economic development on a whole to the city. Now, yes, certainly we use the two restaurants as an example that we have, but my focus on it is the city as a whole and trying to bring economic development to the city, which I believe as the city grows, as Alachua grows, we're getting Publix in. Publix tends to bring restaurants and other businesses in. And are attending the Gainesville Economic Council, we see that there will be businesses, restaurants looking to move down the 441 corridor, down the road. And I'm looking at this trying to set us up for the future as well as what we have currently. That's why I'm looking at that.
Yeah. Again, I say, but how many restaurants gonna come to High Springs?
I don't know. Depends on our population, how it grows.
And when I look at economic development, I'm not just looking at restaurants. Yeah. I'm looking for some economic development where people can get them a job, making a decent wage instead of making $8.50. I don't know what the minimum wage is now. I think just raised it. I ain't looking for those type jobs. I'm looking for something where people can earn a decent living, where they can raise their children, buy themselves a decent home. That's the type of economic I'm talking about.
I absolutely agree with you. There's all kinds of economic development. It all plays in. You know, you want good businesses that are going to provide good income for your children and for your residents. You know, but you also want the other things that go along with it, and I think restaurants are part of that.
Yeah, I agree. Restaurants will come. But look again, Alachua. Let's go back to Alachua. They brought all this economic development. They're building houses over there, but I still don't see no bunch of restaurants coming over to Alachua. They're closing fast and they're opening in Alachua. I cannot see it. And somebody can show me that it's really going to help us with economic development. Restaurants we talking about now that serve hard liquor 10 days, 10 hours on one day. It's going to bring all this big economic. I just can't see it.
Okay.
I can't see that big picture. And I'm not a narrow-minded person.
Okay.
I can't. I'm just being honest. I just cannot.
Anybody else? Commissioner?
Sylvia Newcomb, the one question that I do have to ask of all the commissioners, if you allow this to be changed, no, there's no school on Sunday, but there are church services on Sunday. If you are looking for a restaurant serving alcohol to come on the 441 corridor, now Dollar Tree has purchased the Alamo Plaza place, and the one next to it, they're looking to put a fast food service into the parcel next to it. I'm trying to think of where in the world on the 441 corridor y'all are thinking these big restaurants are coming in. Because if you're going to have Applebee's and these restaurants serving alcohol coming in, is the next thing on your agenda to change the footage from a church or a school to accommodate these restaurants selling alcohol all day? Is that the next item on the agenda?
Well, there are, in fact, I think at least a couple of properties along there that are much more than 600 feet or 500 feet. You know, and I will also tell you, in my personal opinion, and I'm not planning to bring this up at this point, is that I don't have a problem in footage as far as schools, but I do have a problem with footage, and you know that, of churches.
Oh, I know. I know
So-
your preference about churches. I mean, I understand that.
So-
But your preference is not the preference of all the citizens of High Springs.
Well,
Thank you.
I understand that, but it's not, your preference is not the preference of all the citizens of High Springs either. You know, so it goes either way. Anybody else? Okay. Yes, Commissioner
I haven't said
Jameson.
much, and I'm not gonna say much till we go up, but I think the issue becomes how do you feel alcohol? Do you see it as a difference? I think that's the question each of us have to ask ourselves, is what is the difference between beer, wine, liquor, and so forth? And then the other issue is, and I understand that the additional day, and I have to, in my own thing here, if it is as bad, as you said, then the question would be is why do you allow it at all? The question would be why allow any alcohol? I don't, so, I mean, you can counter each argument if you sit there and say you're gonna add 10 hours and it's gonna make it awful. Well, we can eliminate the other 6 days and make it real good. So I think those are issues that each of us have to think about. So when it comes back up, at least to me, those are the main issues for myself, is how do I view each of those categories? And so I think we ought to bring it forth. I think it ought to be on the agenda. I think it ought to be forth, and we ought to vote on it, and one way or the other. So, thank you.
All right. Nothing else to be said? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Meeting adjourned at 7:19. Thank you, everyone, for participating.